we had a lot of explosive plays in the first half, and kind of got out to a it was a bit of a slow start, and then kind of jumped on them, and then just kind of sputtered here and there, and then just weren't able to kind of capitalize when we needed it to, and then towards the end there we did, and Stoner did a great job of making a play there on 4th and 1, I think, on the goal line there. So I think there's always room for improvement, and we're gonna move forward and get better, and we're excited for Pittsburgh in this week's matchup.
Mason, as you had the chance to look at the tape, and it looked like Justice had a little bit of success in the run game, and I know there were some draws and a lot of now stuff and screens that worked, but can you see where there's room to get more out of the conventional run game, maybe?
Yeah, there's always room. I think it's a week by week improvement. I think those guys have come a long way from last year, and they continue to improve. And we got a couple of young guards in there with Marcus Keys and Larry Williams, and tremendous physical guys, and they're gonna improve every week. And so it's kind of there's a new component there with those guys with experience as a unit. But I think they've done great, and I think they'll continue to improve, and I think we'll be just fine.
As a leader on this team, how do you set the tone moving forward next week? What's the best way to attack Pitt?
Just motivation, just positivity, and I think with everything else in life, there's always going to be setbacks or adversity, and you find out who you are as a leader, and you find out who you are as a team, how you respond. And I think this team is experienced and a lot of leadership, and I think we're going to be attack it full speed ahead, and we'll be just fine. And can't wait to get out there again Saturday.
Mason, after a game like that, what do you do on your Saturday night? How do you spend your hours after the game, just sort of digesting it all?
We watched, I watched some other games on TV with some of my buddies, and just kind of hung out and just watched games. I think that's always kind of good when you've got a bunch of time after an 11 o'clock game to kind of just be a fan and watch some games that are going on that night, and just kind of see a bunch of different looks of people, future opponents that we'll be playing. It's a good chance to watch them.
Was your phone blowing up during that? I mean, I can imagine you probably had quite a few people reach out to you after a while.
Yeah, a bunch of friends just kind of, from back home, and just kind of, commenting about the kind of the crazy ending, and which was expected. So, but yeah, it was a crazy day for sure.
Did you watch the Duke-Miami game last year? There's some
I didn't see it live, but I seen the replays of it. Obviously, yeah, everybody's seen that. Yeah, for sure.
Did you watch the replay of their Hail Mary later that night?
Oh, I did. I did. It just came on the TV. Yeah, for sure. It was on. It was a few times I'd seen it. Yes, sir.
What were your, just taking away the circumstances that led to it, what are your thoughts on seeing it again later that night?
Yeah, I mean, it was a crazy play. Their quarterback did a great job of giving their guy a chance, and just kind of a freak deal, man. It was a great play on their part, and just crazy. But I think we're kind of past that. We've turned the page, and we're looking on to Pittsburgh.
What do you want to improve for Pitt?
You
personally, what do you want to improve for Pitt?
I just want to continue to lead this offense, and there was there are always a few mistakes you make on my game personally, and so I want to correct those and be more effective in the score zone and in the red zone, and so just little stuff, but it'll all come together, and just excited to get back out there with my teammates tomorrow at practice.
Mason, there was obviously disappointment after the loss. Did you find yourself going through at all like stages of grief, like anger? I mean, did you go through some of that in the hours that followed all of that?
Yeah, you just kind of second guess yourself and think about the game. We shouldn't have been that close with them. We should have executed better, and we wouldn't have been in that position. But you can second guess all you want. What's done is done, and what's important is how you handle it and how you move forward.
I mean, you said moving forward a couple of times now. How have you found yourself moving forward? Was there somebody said something, you read something, you looked at something? I mean, how do you sort of do that personally?
Really, it's just the realization that we've got a game Saturday, and I'm already moved past it. Was past it after Saturday night, and already preparing for the next opponent, and just trying to dive into this week's game plan and make sure that I'm where I need to be as far as preparation goes for Saturday.
Mason, going back a little bit to the run game, one guy that seemed to be pretty effective when he got the chance on Saturday was Justice Hill, and we don't have a chance to talk to him. You're around him a lot. I understand he's not a very vocal guy.
Yeah.
Like most freshmen, he's seen but not heard.
Yeah.
But your sense of him, his presence on the field, his presence in practice, give us a Mason Rudolph thumbnail on Justice Hill.
You know, he's a great athlete, man. And first time I saw him run, it was kind of one of those, you know, wow moments with, you know, kind of similar to Tyreek Hill when I first saw Tyreek. And he's just a really athletic guy and a really nice guy, calm, you know, confident dude who's quiet, and he's very he did a great job of absorbing information and kind of putting it to use early on in camp and making strides. And so really excited about his development.
Chris made some plays as well, both in the screen game, you got to him a couple times, and in the run game. He seems, you look at him, you know, when you see him around, he seems very determined. Talk a little bit about Chris's personality right now.
Yeah, I think he was kind of, you know, I think in the off season he's one of the strongest guys I know, and really hard worker, and was kind of motivated from last year, and you know, not having the year that he expected to have, and he's you know, he's been running hard, man. Just his will, his effort that he exerts on every run play has been tremendous for us, and he's getting those extra yards that, you know, he might not have gotten last year. He's really excelling and, you know, pushing himself to be what he can be.
Mason Pitt runs for over 300 yards on Saturday. That ball control style of their offense, you guys don't face a whole lot of teams that have offenses like that. Most of them are quick strike like you guys. Does that,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying you change your offense, but does that impact mentality, thought process, you know, those sorts of things heading into a game like this against a team like that?
You know, we're focused on Pitt's, you know, on my perspective, Pitt's defense, and so you know, we're not going to change much at all. We're going to zero in on what they give up and you know, what they're good at, what they're bad at, and we're going to, you know, try to exploit that. And so you know, that's for Coach Spencer to you know, to take care of, and you know, I'm focused on what I can control, and that's being effective and scoring points.
You guys had some offensive sort of fits and starts on Saturday, some great stretches, and then it kind of fall off. Does that become more important not to have those sort of ups and downs in a game against a team that can control it like Pitt can?
Yeah, I think we got to be, you know, definitely got to be more consistent and you know, have more explosive plays, and I think you know, they were all there. It was just a matter of you know, pressure or a bad read or a bad throw here and there. So a lot of stuff that's easily correctable, and you know, like I said, we're looking forward to playing Pitt and you know, diving into a week of preparation on them.
Mason, everybody wants to play. How do you see those running backs, 5 of them, sort of handling that job share?
You know, I think Coach Roy does a great job with kind of managing the time play, and a lot of tremendous athletes who are, you know, very gifted, and you got some young guys and you got some senior guys, and you know, I think it's a good group of guys that really you know, are excited about maximizing each rep that each play they get, and you know, that they're all about Oklahoma State and they want to see us do well.
If you balance your offense, ideally run and pass, how much easier does that make that on a quarterback if he doesn't, pressure-wise?
You know, I think you know, I think we are balanced. I think we, you know, we're just going to take what the defense gives us, and there's games we'll throw the ball a lot, and there's games we'll try to, you know, focus on pounding in the run game. And I think you know, that's what we want to get to. That's what every effective football team is. They have a balanced attack. So you know, I think we have made strides in that area, and we're going to continue to work and to get where we want to be.
Having said that, you see it as a work in progress still, the run
Yeah,
game?
I do.
You
I
got
do.
it.
I see a lot. I see the offensive line's been you know, working hard. I think, you know, our tackle play and those young guards have been awesome for us. I think they're going to continue to improve and just kind of with the early experience just get even better.
Was the Central Michigan game then a case where you guys thought you had more advantages against their pass defense? Because I know kind of right out of the gate, I think 9 of the first 10 plays were pass plays.
Yeah, I think, you know, they kind of played a kind of a base vanilla offense or defense, and there were some things we tried to take advantage of, and a couple of deep posts, one that I overthrew, and you know, some shots we took, which you know, helped us kind of get rolling there in the early portion of the game. But yeah, I think we did a good job of managing what they were giving us.
I saw you check into some plays. Some went well, some maybe not so much. Do you find yourself checking more this season? I mean, last year was, even though you played the year before, was still kind of a rookie year for you in a way. Is that something more you're comfortable with this year?
Yeah, I think you know, Coach Yurchich and Gundy have done an awesome job with, you know, giving me that freedom and that, you know, availability to, you know, check into things when I see certain looks that we prepared for, and I think there was, like you said, there's some plays that that need that, and there's some plays that you just need to kind of leave on. So that's just week to week deal and game plan, and we'll do that again this week for Pittsburgh, and looking forward to it.
Am I right or wrong, or did you have to check to a play because of a shoe off Saturday?
I'm trying to remember. I remember that when he took his shoe off. I don't remember if we checked or not. We may have. I don't remember that play.
It looked like you checked to get Chris away from the play. You kind of just ran him out on a hot route, it looked like, and got him out. I don't know if that was a sign.
Like I said, I can't remember that exact play.
Your thoughts on what you've seen so far of the Pitt defense? And I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. It seems like they're maybe a little less exotic and more confident in their abilities to just play you somewhat straight up. They're not vanilla.
Yeah, no, they're a lot of athletic guys on that team, and a pretty athletic defensive line, some good defensive ends, and so I think it'll be a good challenge, and we're excited to kind of move forward, and I've seen a good portion of their film and whatnot, and so continue to kind of hone in on what we're going to do this week.
Mason, of all the things you're trying to improve in your game, how high does red zone offense rank? Just being that last year JW got so many of those reps, and this is the first year where they're kind of saying, all right, we want you to be the guy down.
Yeah. I think that's kind of been one of my focuses in the offseason is making sure we're taking care of the ball in the red zone and making good decisions. And I think with the other than that interception, I think in the goal line, the red zone, we've been taking care of. We've been effective, and I'm making good decisions.
You look back at your entire football career. Is there any loss you can compare this last one with? Did anything wacky happen in high school or Pee Wee? I mean, you go as far back as you can go.
There were a couple losses in high school that but I think this is just kind of a different animal because it was so crazy and so wild finish. So like any other loss, you got to handle it and you got to move on, and I think that's what we're doing.
Mason, what's one way, or what's a good way to improve third down efficiency? It's been kind of an issue at times.
Yeah, I think last year we were great at third downs. We were extremely efficient, and that's on me. Usually third down is a passing down. I just got to be more effective and be more accurate. And I think there was that's not an issue for us. We know how to handle ourselves on third down, and we'll improve.
You threw it to Jalen McCluskey 15, caught 15 balls. He might have thrown it to him a few more times than that. Was that just a defense allowing that, or is he just a guy that's going to continue to emerge in the offense that way?
I think he's been one of those guys, those slot guys that have done a great job of kind of filling that void that Glidden left, and he's extremely athletic, faster than David was. He's got a lot of ways to go as far as a mental game and understanding defenses, but that's just kind of how it played out. I think he did, with our other guys, they were trying to take away some of the outside guys, and he did a great job of stepping up and moving us down the field.
Would you be okay with you saying McCluskey's
Of course he would, yeah. No doubt.
You mentioned the one red zone series that ended in an interception, and watching it, I wondered, is that kind of one place where, looking back on it, you guys felt you really missed Marcel Aitman at that point?
I'll take Marcel, James Washington, Chris Slater, Seals any day, one-on-one, and I'd do it again, if we were out there right now. And so it was just kind of a funky throw and a funky release by James, and something that's easily correctable, and kind of a routine play for us, and something we're extremely effective at. Just kind of a weird deal.
Looking forward to the stadium striping on Saturday.
Yeah, I heard about that, and I think it'll be cool, and hopefully the fans will follow suit and make it work. It'll be cool. Cool.
Anything else for Mason?
Thank you.
Kind of same as with Mason, no opening statement, just go ahead and fire away with questions.
Hey, Chad, you ended up, after that last play, just kind of sitting in the end zone. Can you walk us through what you were thinking in those moments there at the end of the game on Saturday?
Well, when I saw him reach the ball across, I saw it come out. So I just hustled and got on it just in case it actually was a fumble. And then when I didn't see them call fumble and everybody was just running at me, I just kind of, I don't know, I didn't really know how to react. So I just kind of sat there.
I asked Mason earlier, sort of the stages of grief you go through. I mean, I know everybody was disappointed Saturday, but sort of how did you kind of walk me through how those I guess we're 48 hours or so from when that game ended. How's the emotion sort of gone for you?
I mean, I handled it all right. I mean, as a unit on defense, we didn't play terrible. We had a pretty decent day, and just really sat with my parents, hung out with them. I mean, I really just handled it like how I would handle any other day. Really just focusing on Pittsburgh now. Yesterday's practice came out, started looking at them, and talking to the team about moving forward and really having a great week of preparation this week.
How was yesterday's practice? The mood coming out, did it start with a great attitude, or did you guys have to kind of get into that?
I mean, everybody was sore. We played a lot more snaps than we did against Southeastern, and I mean, other than that, everybody came out with a really good attitude. Everybody was ready to learn, ready to get better for next week.
What did you say to the team about moving forward as a leader?
Everything we want to accomplish is still on the table. We didn't lose a conference game. We lost to a fairly good Central Michigan team. I mean, as far as the committee goes and everything, they'll see the kind of talent they have on their team, and us moving forward, if we do what we have to do, we'll still be in position to accomplish what we want to accomplish.
Chad, was there, as you went back and looked at the tape, was there an opportunity for a lot of guys on this defense to learn some things? Because, Central Michigan athletically they're good, but they do a lot of different things, and they test you in a lot of different ways mentally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they really make you think, and they really make you understand, play assignment football, and that's something that like a lot of guys are learning, like a lot of guys that are rotating in that maybe not have played so much, and just making sure everybody gets on the same page. And as far as like all their motions and stuff, and make sure we got all our checks and everything in, that was a really good test for us. So moving forward, I feel like that's going to help us a lot.
Chad, weird circumstances that I think you have a high school teammate that was on that Duke team last year that went through the wacky finish. Do you remember watching that and sort of thinking about Austin at all? Have you heard from him since what happened to you guys?
I haven't heard from him since like what happened to us this weekend. I mean, he was telling me it was like kind of surreal because he wasn't playing. He's a center, so he was just kind of sitting on the sideline, just like in awe of what was happening. And I mean, that's literally how I felt in the end zone whenever I saw everybody running out. So I mean, we're on the same page there.
So you talked to him about that after last year, like there was a conversation?
Yeah, when we were all home and we were all just talking, and he brought that up, and then it just happened to us.
How'd you spend your Sunday? Was that like an all-day film session? Were you able to, you talked about, hanging out with your parents, were you able to have another day off, or was it right back to work when Sunday?
Woke up, ate breakfast with them, came up here to work out, and went back home, laid around, watched some football for a little bit, came back up here, watched film, practiced, and just did our whole routine that we normally do on Sundays.
Is your phone blowing up through that just because of people watching the game and knowing what happened?
Not really. I mean, I feel like all the people that I'm close with, they understand how I handle stuff like that, and they know I'm not going to like just go off a roller coaster and I'll be all right. So,
Did any of the film review yesterday include the Hail Mary that Central Michigan threw? What was that like?
We just made the corrections we needed to make on it. I mean, our formation, the defense, we called for it. We played the right defense to do what we had to do. I didn't execute. Some other people didn't execute what we were supposed to do, and I mean, that's what happens.
What did you do on that play specifically? You personally?
I was supposed to run it up and under, and I stayed outside, and when he stepped up in the pocket.
So you were among the guys at the line of scrimmage. Okay, I got you.
You weren't surprised when he called for a 5-man pressure?
No, not at all. I mean, that's what we practice. I mean, that's what we've always done. Really, we're focusing on batting the ball down in that situation just to get the game over with. And so, I mean, I wasn't surprised at all what we did.
Chad, while you guys were going through that on Saturday, Pitt's running crazy. And that's true, 300-plus yards against Penn State. How do you contain these guys? They're not like an offense you guys normally see from the Big 12.
From what we've seen, what I've watched so far on film, very physical guys. James Connor's a really big back. One cut downhill, he'll run you over. They use their fullbacks. They have 2 preseason All-American linemen. I mean, they're doing what they're built to do, and I mean, they're good at it. So we got to go out there and practice. That's why I was talking about practice is so important for us this week because, like you said, we don't face offenses like that very often. So
you mentioned the fullback. One of the nuances I've noticed in watching them is they like to use that fullback belly, but they've added the jet sweep, and so they'll use those to contrast and get you, looking at the sweep. and not focus on the fullback or vice versa. Talk about that mix of plays they like to use.
They really keep you on your toes because they run sweeps with their fullbacks as well. I mean, they're really a really multiple team in what they do and how they utilize their players. I mean, all their guys are really good athletes. The way they use him going out in the flat, the way they use him blocking. I mean, he's a really versatile player, so I'm really excited to see how we're going to prepare to stop them this week.
Quarterback also is a veteran, doesn't get as much credit, but they're not ashamed of letting him throw the football to mix it up.
Yeah, I saw that on film. He seems really comfortable in the pocket. He can throw on the run too. I mean, you can tell he's a mature guy. He's willing to hold on the ball if he sees somebody open, and if not, he'll tuck it and run. So, I mean, that's just part of being a mature player and understanding what you need to do in certain situations.
Yeah, Central Michigan only has like 57 yards on 26 rushes the other day, which I know obviously Pitt will stress that even more. But what did you guys like about what you saw in your run defense? It seemed to me like defensive tackles were really getting after it in front of you guys.
Mm-hmm. I mean, our defensive line, like we've been talking about, is the highlight of this team. Really big, strong guys, a lot of older guys. I mean, they're just doing what we've been saying they're going to do. And as far as Pitt, they're going to do what they're going to do. It's no secret they like to run the ball. And we just got to go out there and execute what we're going to do to stop them.
As a linebacker, and because Pitt has the reputation of being a really physical football team in a day and age of a lot of finesse, as a linebacker, you relish the opportunity to say, okay, people want to know if we can be physical with a physical football team.
I'm excited about it. I'm really looking forward to getting my nose in there and just going in there and just striking people. I mean, it'll be a really fun game for me. I feel like just going in there, running around, hitting people. I mean, that's what you play football for anyways. So
Striping out the stadium with orange and white get you any more excited?
I really just found out about that when y'all asked Mason about it. So I think it'll look good. I hope everybody does it. So.
What do you want to see from your teammates in practice this week as you move forward?
I just want to see everybody get after it. I want to see everybody prepare the way we've been preparing. Really just go after it like a game day mentality every day because you practice how you play. And that's something that Coach Spencer's always stressed to us and getting after it and really making sure we strain ourselves and because they give us time to recover before games. So really just make sure on the days where we're supposed to tax our bodies, we really tax ourselves and work on getting better.
Chad, you guys were able to rotate quite a bit again last week. I know Justin was in there for you on a couple series and Jossie and so on. When you guys looked at the film, how did you think those young guys played?
They played very well. Like I was saying earlier, it's just getting them back into the flow of playing. I mean, Justin played, but he played like 2 years ago before he had surgery. And Jossie's been getting a lot of reps. He's a really smart guy as well. So, I mean, just getting them back in there and getting them used to game speed, I feel like it's going to help us a lot going down the road.
Chad, you talked about the defensive line, and a lot has been said and written about a lot of those guys, but Mote is kind of a guy that has flown a little bit maybe under the radar, sort of outside the program. Talk a little bit about him, his play, his strengths, his personality, all that from your perspective.
He has a really big head, so he's kind of top heavy. So, I mean, that helps. That helps.
Hair? I mean, he's got a lot of hair up there.
No,
right?
his head's just shaped like a box. And, yeah, he's a really funny guy. He always keeps the mood light, but he understands when we need to turn it on and get serious. And he's a really hard worker. I mean, he's done everything our coaches have asked him to do as far as assignment wise. He understands what he has to do, knows how to use his hands and everything, and he's a lot quicker than you'd think he is for being as heavy as he is. As heavy as he is.
Big head, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, he comes in last year as a junior college, and I know you obviously ended up playing behind him eventually, but sometimes that junior college, the move can be difficult. Did you see him transition pretty well into that spot?
Yeah, he got here in the spring, and he really just, when he got here, he clicked for him. He never really had an issue transitioning. And then as far as academics goes, everything we do over there, they make sure we're all good and acclimated, and coach class and everybody, you know how they run our program. So.
Just had another teammate to comment on because I've just noticed his attitude and his effort. And I know he may not always be where he's supposed to, but talk about Devontae Averett and the way he's playing from an effort standpoint. He had that big play after the interception to get the ball back. It's kind of an example of kind of the way he's playing right now.
That's just how Devontae is. Devontae is going to go in there and give 100% no matter what. I mean, the way he plays, he acts the same way off the field. He's always going 100%. He never really takes any plays off. He's always a guy who's going to do everything he has to do to make sure that we're going to do well. So, I mean, I don't have to worry about him ever as far as effort goes. And, if it plays downfield, he's going to run to chase it down. Like, he's one of those guys that you don't have to worry about ever.
You a superstitious guy? Should Gundy chop his mullet after what happened on Saturday?
I'm not superstitious at all. If anything, I need to cut the top of this off, but it's all right.
We talked earlier, Chad, about how you guys were facing 3 different offenses here to start. Is that impact this week now that it is a completely different offense? Is that why you're saying we got to really focus in and these practices are so important?
I mean, that's how practice is all the time. I mean, regardless of we're playing a lot of in the Big 12 we do play a lot of similar offenses, but if we don't prepare the way we need to prepare, then it's not going to really matter whether we see that all the time or not. Really the main thing is just making sure everybody gets their fits and everything right and understands what we're doing as far as coverages, and that's the main reason why I'm saying we need to stress how hard we practice during the week.
Anything else for Chad? Now Coach Gundy, your first roll.
Thank you.
Dove come in out there, Western Oklahoma?
Yeah.
They have the big ones? Huh? When they come in? When those come in? They weren't in last week. Okay, that's good. Okay, looking forward to getting back to work. We had a great practice last night. Players' attitudes are really good. This is a good football team that'll be in here Saturday. Preseason, or really in the summer when we looked at them a little bit, we felt like they were a team that should be ranked in the top 25 with what they have returning. You know, they've got 2 running backs, a quarterback, a number of defensive guys, several of them potential NFL players in our opinion. Kicker's back, has been a really good kicker. Good coaching staff. Very sound football team, and then it's played well so far this year. So it'll be a real challenge for us in a lot of different areas. Obviously, have to stop the run. They're going to want to run the football. It's their history and coach's history, in my opinion, from an outsider looking in. So we kind of know what our task is and the direction we're going. Now we just got to have a good week of practice and stay healthy and go out and play hard on Saturday.
Mike, early game last week, did you have any feeling at all on Saturday morning that guys were not ready to play?
No, we practiced well last week. Our routine was the same. We were poor on third down defense, and we were terrible on third down offense. That's really what it came down to.
Mike, we asked the guys just sort of about the emotions of the 48 hours since that game. I mean, disappointment was obvious for everybody, but what have you sort of gone through? Has it been sort of stages of grief? Have you gone through, anger, rejection of what happened? I mean,
when it was over, 11 o'clock kickoff, so we had a lot of time. So to be honest with you, it gave me a chance to go home and go over my 14-year-old's games, his last 2 games. So he got 2 hours of punishment. And then we went out back and we shot skeet. And that really took me to dark. And that allowed me to get my mind off that part of it for a while. And I felt like I would be able to go to bed, but I couldn't. And then so I watched a little bit of the Arkansas game. That kind of got me to a point where I was able to lay down until about 30 minutes and go to sleep. Not really anger or frustration, a little bit more of disappointment just from the fact that so many different variables involved that could have changed it. And then you get right back to decisions have been made and you move forward. And we have been, and I guess maybe I have been pretty good at getting away from that, realizing that there's not anything you can do and just kind of moving forward. But when you're involved in a game like that, or when I'm involved in a game like that, that's something that'll come across my mind 500 times if I live long enough. Whether I'm driving, sitting in a shower, in a bathtub, just sleeping, wake up in the middle of the night, forever. Those games don't ever get away from you.
you're in a small fraternity of coaches that have had to come back and talk to your team, refocus a team after something like that. I mean, have you heard from any of those other coaches that have done that? Who do you draw from? I mean, because it's one of those, again, not in a coaching manual anywhere.
Nobody really has. I mean, I've gotten a lot of text, and most of them are people that like OSU or like me, so they're on my side. So they're pretty much one-sided. And, I guess that, the kind of the general or overwhelming opinion is that at some point somebody could have said, this is an easy one to change, but I always text them back that there's nothing we can do, and that's really what's happened. But I haven't heard from any other coaches that have been in this situation that we were in.
You bring up a good point. Like if you, let's say you knew got real cold. I mean, if you're jumping up and down on the sidelines, it's not like they're going to stop. I mean, and I know you were asked earlier in the Big 12 teleconference today about the officials with non-conference contracts. Is there a fix? Is there a protest that can be maybe added for coaches to lodge in a situation?
In the future?
Yeah.
Well, I would say that there's a good chance that this rule will be changed if it's cut and dry. That's just my guess.
You mean the rule about no loss of down? You think that'll get changed, or there'll be something?
No, that
added
rule's
to-
in the attack, and that was where, and of course, I'm getting into what I didn't want to get into, but just because I like you, I'm going to do it.
This is a forward-thinking question.
No, I know, I'm
What's
with you,
in
I'm
the
with you.
future?
I mean,
My
you've done a
question.
real good, you put journalism school to work here, so you did a great job. So, the one area that, in kind of my final analysis of this, the one area that disappointed me is that I couldn't just take my shirt off, lay on the field, and protest and say, I know this rule is this way, because I know 9 years ago when we studied it, there was enough people in that room, and we're detailed enough with our staff and what we do, that the only thing that crossed my mind was maybe it's changed and I didn't know it. So then I said, okay, they're on the 50. Let's play this thing out. And obviously, now looking back, I would have run a different play. And then looking back, I would have said, I know we're smart enough to check everything. We would have not ever had a play in our playbook that's going to give them another play. We wouldn't do it. We'd do something else. So that's what was really discouraging to me, was that I wasn't schooled enough to say, I know that rule wasn't that way, because it could have changed. That's the only thing that disappointed me in the long run.
But I guess that it seems like there's more controversies with officials than ever before. It's not a problem that's getting less, it's becoming more. I'm wondering if there's any sort of, Major League Baseball, you can play a game under protest. Should college football, with all the money and all the work and all the hours
There's a
you
lot
guys put into
involved.
this? Yeah.
It was interesting what Bill Hancock said. He said, I'd see it the other way. If it got to that point, we're going to see it the other way. Because they have that, they're not governed by that policy, that rule. So in the end, I'm going to guess that there is going to be a group come together and say, if something like that were to happen, with all the respect in the world to them and what they did, the game's over. And so the evidence is clear, and I'll bet you in the future that somebody has to say, we have to change that, I'm sorry. That would be my guess. And because now you have a lot of things that happen, but there's more time on the clock. There could be 2 or 3 plays, so you really don't know. Here we knew. I honestly thought they were going to change it. When I was in the locker room, I thought they'll change it. But again, that shows how much I know when it comes to rules and NCAA and such.
Moving forward, Mike, will you change a clock-killing situation like that in future games with what you asked Mason or your offense to do, number one? And number two, will you defend last-second play or on-time plays that Central Michigan ran differently? Will you continue to rush 5? Will you play more prevent, maybe rush 3, drop more deep?
Well, there's corrections you can make in. You talking about the very last play of the game?
Yeah, I want to know if you change either what you did offensively or defensively, what you would change.
You talking about what we did?
Yeah,
Why would you change?
That's the safest play in the world now.
Which,
The game's over.
Against Central Michigan's Hail Mary.
But why? No. You asked me or them. Which play?
Well, I asked you 2 different plays.
Right. The play that we ran.
Yeah.
Why would you change?
Because it was because it was a grounding call that unfairly or not awarded them an extra play. I mean, do you run a receiver? In other words, I guess I'm asking you.
No. We already studied that. The only thing that I was deficient in is not knowing the rule. The game's over, right?
But you could have run a receiver to.
I could have done just what I did, and the game's over.
Right.
We had 8 guys on the field, a guy in the box, and the Big 12 office that all screwed it up. I mean, to a certain extent, my release was I'm disappointed that we didn't do something different, and that I didn't know that I could have said, listen, I'm taking my shirt off, I'm laying on the field. It's over. Don't do it. Now, they would have done it. They'd have run another play because they were convinced that they got another play.
You were pretty self-critical in the post game about.
Sure, I'm self-critical because I got 132 guys that busted their butt all week, and because me not being strong enough with the rules to say you're wrong, my guys lost a game.
So you were more upset with not
Knowing for
that
sure.
part, not
Yeah.
the.
Now, I'll be honest with you, the rule book's this thick, and there's a lot of fine print. It's like you bought a house, right? Have you ever bought a house? Had you ever read that fine print? On that, right, you looked at the realtor, you looked at the people involved and said, is this the way it's supposed to be? Because if it's not, I need to know, but I ain't reading all this. right? Well, it's the same thing. We know a lot of the rules. Like, I have a really good feel for a lot of them, but I didn't know for sure that I was right. I wish I would have. Now, the last play, we could have done some things different. But here's what happened to kind of sum it up. There's two ways. You play way back or you pressure. We've pressured before, and it's been great for us, okay? Ramon was back, saw the guy catch the ball on, 7-yard line, or what was it? 9. So he's like me, I was standing right here, and I thought, it's not even getting the end zone. Wrap the guy up. Let's secure the ball. That's what he did. So you really couldn't blame him either, because that's what he did. Now, there were some guys that were in a trail mode that we can teach and coach to be more aware of what was going on, and they could have probably made that play, but they got surprised a little bit, just like I did, because I sat there and looked at it and I thought, I would have done the same thing. So you have to coach a mistake based on us not putting them in the position to be in if you do pressure them. But there's two ways to do it. You either pressure them, try to force an early throw, or you stay way back and play the jump ball.
And you'll continue to pressure.
Well, I'm not going to give I'm not spilling the beans. I mean, but I believe in both. I'll say that. Yeah. And those are good. Those are quality questions that I didn't get covered yesterday. But really, to a point, it's kind of over. There is nothing else to talk about, you know. Would I change what we did on offense? No, because the game's over.
Well, Mike, there's also the question is that even intentional grounding? Because Rudolph wasn't really under duress. It was almost like a spike out of bounds down the field.
And I like how you're thinking, because when we put this in, we knew that the game was over. Because see, on penalties accepted on the other side of the ball, like a lot of times on a safety where a punter takes and runs and gives a safety, you just teach all your linemen to hold the guys, right? Because if they accept the penalty, guess what? You get another down. Okay, it's the same concept, and that's why I was so frustrated that night, because I knew that an accepted penalty by the defense with the clock expired, the game's over. Now, if the offense runs a play and the defense it gets penalized, then you can extend the game in most cases. Now, there's some fine print, but we were all aware of that. That's why I was, at the end of the night, laying down, that's why I was most upset, because I should have just said, I know the rule.
When your media relations staff and your PR staff is contacting the Big 12 trying to figure this out post-game, how involved were you in that? Were you having conversations with anyone, or were you just kind of get back to me?
Just about like when you guys ask me other questions, and I say I'm just a guy standing there and somebody else is doing it. I mean, I wasn't really involved. Our guys were, these guys over here were going crazy. They were working their tails off and this and that and doing everything they could do. But then in the end, one rule that is clear, if you look at the NCAA's rule, the game's not over until the official says the game's over. He never said the game was over. That's what I think will be changed.
I wasn't on the Big 12 teleconference earlier, but I heard that.
Oh, now you're gonna make me relive the whole thing.
No,
just the other day you weren't in there when I finished my post game, and I relived it just because I like you.
You like me too?
And Jenny. Yeah, I'm glad Trammell's not here. Is he? No. Go ahead.
But the idea of a lower level conference officiating crew coming into place, apparently you're not.
It's got nothing to do with anything, nothing, but I feel like we should have our officials in our games, in Power 5 conference games. That's just my opinion. And I could be wrong. Somebody can correct me on that. There's a lot of good officials out there, but they're all working to get to that level, right? Aren't most umpires in AA trying to get to the majors? So I'm guessing that they're trying to put those guys that are more experienced, have been in those situations, have seen it more at that level. That's just a personal opinion. And that's not sour grapes. But you asked me, and I'm going to tell you, that's my personal opinion on it.
The way like the Central Mission Series worked, I think you guys had Big 12 officials up there a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, when they come here in 2 years, I think right now it's scheduled to be MAC officials.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want Big 12 officials for all of them? Or
Sure.
So even the away
Now,
games,
when we play 1-on-1s with Pitt, we play with, I don't know who else we play, Arizona or somebody down the line, you're gonna switch officials. That's just common.
Mike, I'm asking you, should there be recourse for you, and you're talking about officials, I mean, they obviously have a tough job too. I'm thinking, is there, and I'm not smart enough to know the
I like
answer
that
to
you're
this.
on our team, but we cannot do anything.
I get that, but is there something that can help both sides? Because, again, there's so much money, there's so much time invested to make sure I don't know, clearinghouse.
You know,
NBA has the replay center.
This is probably a better question for the conference, because I think that we have Big 12 officials in Dallas watching the game with a buzzer to the people here. Is that right? So that is being done.
On the conference level. Okay.
They're watching every game. So, jokingly, you ever watch cartoons when, like, they have a guy having a fort and he's watching and he's like this? And I'm serious. So I wondered, is that happening? I know they're going to be mad at me. They may fine me for that, but I get fined from them a lot of times. But the point is this: we have that is taking place, and I'm not being funny, but that is already in place for that reason.
Yeah, and I guess I was thinking, I mean, NCAA obviously doesn't have, it doesn't oversee football like it oversees other sports, and so
You're right.
there's not really a natural NCAA like national view, but if it's happening at a conference level.
They're not going to touch it. They're too much, and as a lot of things with the NCAA I don't agree with, but the world that they live in, that is so big, they could not ever touch it. Too many people, too many moving parts in one day for them to govern is what I would think. So,
Mike, it's been suggested that Central Michigan not accept the win.
you know what? I think I got all the respect in the world for their coach. I got all the respect in the world for their program. And the rule states, you know, it's just like when we should have been in the national championship game in 2000 and whatever year that was. The rule was in place. We all agreed to it. This rule was in place. We all agreed to it. We ended up on the short end of the stick. It benefited them. And honestly, they came down here, and we were more talented than them, and they beat us on our field. So if we'd have played better during the game, it would have never happened. So I would, if I was them, I would say the rule's the rule. We all bought into it. We get the win.
Anything else for Coach?
You may want to talk about Pitt.
Yeah, well,
We have to ask about
Guys, they're a really good team now.
Practice yesterday, what were you most impressed with in terms of the players setting the tone for a new week, focusing ahead towards Pitt?
One thing that we like here that we are as a staff most proud of is we work 24/7 on education and character and control what you can control and all the life skills that we think they need. So when they leave here, that they can take care of themselves and live a life and be normal and be productive in society. And we were able to put it into effect yesterday. They came, they showed up, we showed them. Hard day. Can you imagine? Like watching the tape. The only thing I ask the staff to do is you watch it, you grade every play, and we correct every play. And it's hard to watch. And then you have to do the same thing with the players. They need to see it, needs to be corrected, because things that are issues don't fix themselves. You have to find a solution to them. And so they did it. They watched it. When it was over, I told them that I put the press release out. I said, I don't know if y'all follow me on Twitter or whatever, but it's out, so I don't have to talk about it today, which I knew I would. But most of it was out. But when you go to practice, I don't want to hear about it anymore from you, because you can't do anything about it. It's my fault for making that call and me not knowing that rule was the way it was. You guys can't do anything about it. But we didn't play very good on third down. Okay? You guys need to do something about that. They accept that. They understand that.
Two-way question, both sides of the ball. Conventional run game and trying to drive that with the offense, which might get you better third down situations. And then also talk about with the opponent coming up, because they like to run the football. That's one thing your defense has been really good at,
Right.
is stopping the run.
Right, and everybody's gone to Pitt now. You guys see Kevin over here doing this with his hands. He's really nervous. When he knows I'm in a situation that I could say something that the conference is going to call him and tell him that I can't say that, it makes him really nervous. Yeah, I did what? Okay, and Kevin will go from 150 to 110 in one press conference with me. But they're going to try to run the ball, Robert, and you know, that world they live in, they pride themselves in it. I've lived in that world with Les. We're going to knock you off the ball. We're going to pound you. We're going to hurt you. We're going to use the clock. You know, they were, I think, 117th in the country in plays per game, meaning their tempo. So that's the world they live in, and they're pretty good at it. Those backs are good players. The quarterback's a good player. They got 2 linemen, maybe 3, but 2 I'm pretty sure will play in the NFL. And then the flip side of it is the defense that goes against them all the time is we're not going to let you run. So we have to find a way to move the ball on the ground some in order to set up everything else we do. We don't have to restructure what we do and who we are. We got to continue to get better at it. We abandoned the run too early in the last game. Mike, we talked about that, and that's what happens sometimes when you start to press a little bit. That's the advantage. The quarterback they had made you want to press a little bit. He was 8 of 13 or 15 on third downs, something like that. And so when you're competing against a guy like that, you get concerned that, I mean, he just keeps extending drives. We got to make something happen faster. And when we haven't been very good at it the last 2 years, you abandon it a little early, and you kind of worry about, okay, we got to play keep up or catch up. And that was the thing that we would correct in the game going back.
In retrospect, when you looked at the tape, were you impressed with some of the things you saw in the run game with both Justice Hill and Chris Carson? I know, his yardage didn't look so good, but boy, and in the screen game too, it looked like Chris made plays.
We had 2 plays where we MA'd in the running game. Other than that, we improved in the running game. Now, everybody's sitting there saying you average 2.3 yards a carry, you've lost your mind. We also had 27 yards in sacks, okay? And what we look for in improvement in the running game is covering guys up in our backs, being aggressive in running. I thought we had that. And I said this in August now. We're not going to come out here and all of a sudden be the Denver Broncos running the football. But we were better. And we need to continue to be better. This will be a real challenge with this guy. The one guy they got playing, I think his number's 5 or 9. I can't see anymore, but I know who he is. That guy's a really, really good player. I mean, he's the guy that had 17 sacks last year, I think. He's good.
I think at the start of the game, I think 9 of the first 10 plays were pass plays. You think the running game didn't even really get a chance to get going?
Well, not really. I mean, there was just kind of based on what we were doing. I would say no. Now, if you look at just the paper part of it, and you have to remember some of what we do is run pass options based on what the defense gives us. I mean, that's pretty common in college football now.
James Conner, the running back, Pitt's running back. How would you describe him as a player? But then he's obviously had the off-field story with the cancer. What do you know of that off-field?
Well, just what you guys do, and you have to admire a young man that's playing at this level and going through what they go through physically and mentally, and what he went through. So, a great story, and a good player. It's pretty amazing when you watch him to think that he's gone through that. So happy for him. Want to do good against him this week, but sure happy for what he's accomplished.
What about your defensive tackles and how, well, your whole defensive line, but those tackles have become such, you're running them in and out of there. I mean, those guys seem like a real strength when it comes to potentially keeping them in check.
They are. We need to keep them healthy. The 2 areas, the one area I was disappointed in is, Trey Carter had 2 personal fouls in that game, which extended drives. And those things concern us because we want to be a smart football team, and we gave him 30 free yards and extended a drive on 3rd and 12, and it wasn't even a factor. And I know he was an end on that particular play, but those tackles have given us a lift. They'll have a real challenge this week. We're going to need all 6 of them.
Mote's a guy that came in last year at junior college and, kind of flew under the radar, maybe outside the program. Vincent got talked about, and, this year, obviously, Billy comes back. But Mote just stepped in and
Played good.
Yeah.
He's playing well.
What have you sort of seen about in him and his evolution?
He's played good. He's been gap control. He's been a force. It's been tough to move him. And like I said, it'll be interesting when we have this conference next week because he's going to go against some guys that can really push and move. So that group, in particular, and him, they need to play well. And he's given us good effort. We used him a little bit in a kind of a punt block deal, and he is elevating through the shield, and so he's been good for us up to this point.
Mike, as you've talked to your team, has the 2 fourth quarter takeaways been overlooked?
Sure, when you lose, you're right. That was a great play, to put us back in the game, and I had mentioned that to him. That there's positives. There's a lot of positives in the game, things that we did, things we asked our team to do to improve. We were much better in special teams in a lot of areas that the public doesn't see. Our coverage, our pooch punt, our kicks, okay, just different things. And then defense made 2 plays in the end to essentially give us the game, and they don't get talked about because of what all took place, which is the world we live in. It's okay, but that play and then the interception were big-time plays to secure the game.
I asked Chad about Devontae. Is he a kid right now that's playing with about as great an effort as you've got on anybody in your squad?
He's always played that way. And where he's improving is he's been going the right direction and in the right gap more than he was last year, and in the spring. And as he gets experience, and he ought to improve and keep getting better and better. But he's always takes a lot of pride in himself. And he led junior college in tackles 2 years ago. You can't do that unless you run to the ball.
Do you have any advice for Gunner after Friday's game?
Any advice?
For Gunner, your son?
Gunner got 2 hours of misery from me, and it's certainly not coaching Stillwater, and it's certainly not coaching schemes. It's just me coaching him, and so he kind of took the blow for me needing to get 2 hours up. See, but because he had a JV game, so I had like 103 plays to go over with him, so you can imagine how miserable he was. And he played pretty average, so that made it worse. So anyway, no, I don't. He's lucky to be where he's at and in a great situation.
The majority of running back touches Saturday went to Chris Carson and Justice Hill. Have they begun to separate themselves a little bit in practice, or?
Mark, it's we like all of them. I wish Randy could have touched the ball more, but what we talked about in here, we abandoned it too early, so it got really reduced. 27 needs to touch it more. But the one thing I like with Chris that we're going to find out this week, because this is a really physical team, I like Chris's attitude and the way he's playing right now. To me, he's better and he's more aggressive than he was last year. Now, over the next month, we'll see how he does, because we're going to be playing guys that are physical and fast and can hit you, and that's where we may need all of them. We'll see. But I like what we're getting from him now. We needed 8 to 10 more carries.
You were asked all August about your O-line, and the response was, let's just see what happens once the game starts. You've got 2 on film now. So where's that group in your line?
We're better. Still have a ways to go. There's we had two MAs in a running game, and we had 2 protections where we overset and gave up early pressure on the quarterback. So we're better. We still have a long ways to go. That group, other coaches may be able to do it. We have not been able to make things happen fast with that particular position. It's something that occurs over a period of time, and so we're getting a little better.
What do you think they do on third down on both sides of the ball to improve on third down efficiency?
What's funny is last year we were unbelievable on 3rd and long. I mean, we were so unbelievable. I'd rather be in 3rd and 9 than 3rd and 1 last year. And then defensively, there were a few things we could correct, but the biggest issue was our quarterback. He made plays, put the ball where it's supposed to be. You watch. I watched a little bit of the game last night with Phoenix and the Patriots. Watch those quarterbacks where they have to throw the ball. And they have to. There's no room for error. Well, that guy was like that a lot. That's where he put the ball. So, all right, guys. Good. Thank you.